And away we go, episode 1296 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, April 6th, 2026. It is the day of the national championship game in Division I men's college basketball, the final of the 2026 NCAA tournament. Number 1 seeded Michigan versus number 2 seeded UConn at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis on Monday night at 8:50. The run that Michigan is on is incredible. First team ever to score at least 90 points in each of at least 5 consecutive games in an NCAA tournament. Meantime, UConn is in its third national championship game in 4 seasons. And while we're talking national championship games, a salute to the University of Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, Virginia. The Eagles of the University of Mary Washington won the Division III men's basketball national championship game on Sunday, a 75-73 win over Emory University at Gamebridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. 6'5" Colin Mitchell, a putback as time expired in the second half. What a win for the University of Mary Washington. Congrats to UMW, to UMW. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, which follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This also is a podcast in which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. Next segment, the second of 2 conversations over 2 shows with a good friend of this podcast, Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. Ben joined us on Friday's show, episode 1295, to discuss his takeaways from the NFL's annual league meeting and where we are with what Washington will do with its number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Ben is joining us on this installment of the podcast to assess how Washington general manager Adam Peters is and should be handling the team from a salary cap perspective. The team has spent a lot in free agency this offseason, but still has a lot of cap space. Peters, last Monday afternoon, March 30th, during his session with reporters in Phoenix at the NFL's annual league meeting, said a lot of good stuff about his philosophy with the cap. You'll hear those comments, and we'll speak with Ben. And also on the show, we'll talk Washington Capitals, Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. What a Jekyll-and-Hyde weekend for the Caps as they battled to make the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Saturday night, a great 6-2 win over the Buffalo Sabres at Capital One Arena. But Sunday night, a horrendous 8-1 loss at the New York Rangers. Our rebuilding and tanking Wizards, they're now even closer to clinching keeping the reported top 8 protected first-round pick in the 2026 NBA Draft. Saturday, a 152-136 loss at the Miami Heat. Sunday, a 121-115 loss at the Brooklyn Nets. The Wizards in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season now are 17-61. Worst record in the NBA. Our team is putting on a clinic and had a tank. In the Nats and Does, each team in MLB's 2026 regular season now is 3-6 off getting swept in a 3-game series over the weekend. The Nats got swept in a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers at Nationals Park. The O's got swept in a 3-game series at the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Justin Goldberg on Washington's 2 new coordinators, offensive coordinator David Blau and defensive coordinator Durante Jones. The subject of the email, to Booth or not to Booth? Writes Justin. Al, the real question no one is asking is, will Blau and or Jones be on the sideline or in the booth? This is the kind of question we need an answer to. Thank you for the email, Justin. Very true. But never forget what happened with Washington's defensive coordinator for the last 2 seasons, our friend Joe Witt Jr. Washington's 44-22 loss to the Detroit Lions at Northwest Stadium this past November 9th. What a wonderful day that was. This game was the first and only game for Witt as acting Washington defensive coordinator on the team's sideline as opposed to in the team's coach's booth. And this was his last game as acting Washington defensive coordinator. Head coach Dan Quinn, during his day after the game press conference on November 3rd, announced that Witt was moving from being in the team's coach's booth during games to being on the team's sideline during games. But then Quinn, during his day after the game press conference on November 10th, announced that he was taking over as defensive coordinator, even though Witt's official title of defensive coordinator coordinator didn't change, but his final game as acting Washington defensive coordinator was his first and only game as acting Washington defensive coordinator on the team sideline as opposed to in the team's coach's booth. I on this podcast off Quinn announcing that Witt was moving from being in the team's coach's booth during games to being on the team sideline during games said that move, the move from the sideline to the booth or vice versa, often is the kiss of death for a coordinator, and sure enough, that was the kiss of death for Witt. And another notable thing regarding that loss to the Lions, being Witt's only game as acting Washington defensive coordinator on the team sideline as opposed to in the team's coach's booth, is that his defense during that game became unraveled. Washington's defensive players became unhinged in the second quarter, especially during the Lions' third offensive drive, during which interior defensive lineman Daron Payne got ejected for throwing a punch at Lions receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. In the NFL the next day, November 10th, announced that Payne had been suspended without pay for one game for, quote, an act of unsportsmanlike conduct during Sunday's game against the Detroit Lions, end quote. And the best part of all of this was that Payne was one of Washington's three captains for that game. But the irony of Joe Witt for this one game being closer to the field and being on the sideline as opposed to being in the booth, and his players becoming unhinged during the game is pretty remarkable. You may remember the previous time a big deal was made of a Washington coordinator moving from being in the team's coach's booth during games to being on the team sideline during games. Offensive coordinator Scott Turner for the 2022 season, in order to help the team's new QB1, Carson Wentz, a.k.a. Commander Carson. And what happened? Washington fired Scott Turner the following January, but we did get our one season with Commander Carson.
What's up, Commanders fans? Carson Wentz here, just landed in D.C. I'm excited to get to work, excited to come in and compete, and, as we all know, excited to really go ahead and start to take command.
Yes, thank you, Commander Carson. Hashtag take command. Hey, thank you to all of you who have given this podcast a 5-star rating and who have written nice reviews of the podcast. You on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. 5-star ratings are very much appreciated. Positive reviews are very much appreciated.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
So here's something notable. The Washington Commanders, per overthecap.com, have spent the fourth most money in the NFL in free agency this offseason, but currently are number 2 in the NFL in salary cap space. Fourth most money spent in free agency this offseason, but currently number 2 in cap space. This speaks to two things. A, Washington having had so many unrestricted free agents this offseason, i.e. a lot of roster spots to fill. B, Washington having signed so many players this offseason to team-friendly contracts. And in episode 1288, did a deep dive on that. General Manager Adam Peters last Monday afternoon, March 30th, late in his session with reporters in Phoenix at the NFL's annual league meeting, got asked a bunch of questions about his salary cap management. This portion of his session with reporters has gotten very little attention, but may have been the most interesting portion of the session. Here is this part of the session. You'll first hear a back and forth between the person who's about to join us, Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Peters. Then you'll hear an exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 Washington and Peters. And then you'll hear an exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Peters. So this portion of Peters' session with reporters on March 30th is about 3.5 minutes long. Here you go.
You guys so far in your tenure here have kept a fair amount of cap space. You right now have a lot, obviously you could still make more moves, but what's your general thought of how you want to use your cap space? Because I think there's some thought of like, hey, you guys have Jade under working contract, just go nuts. Why do you kind of go the way you've been doing?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to hand it to Brandon and Rob for we're in a really healthy cap situation, and it's really good, and that's on purpose. But also understand that we spent a lot of money. We spent a ton of money. So it's not like we're not spending, but we're also doing a really good job staying in a healthy cap. That way, that does give us the ability, if we want to make a move, we can make a move, but it really keeps us so we're not having to make decisions that aren't the best decisions for the team because they're based on the cap. And you've seen that with teams, recently where there's certain things they want to do or try to do, but they can't do because of their cap situation. So this helps us really now, but also in the future as well.
I'm just essentially an ignorant part of it because I can't even balance my own bank account. Is there some notion of like taking some of the money you spend in the years to come and spending it now if you have the space, so later on you're not, in a situation where you have to make some calls based on the cap?
I mean, that's one way to look at it, but I think I'll go back to that. We've spent a ton already. We spent a lot of money, and so. There is. You do have. We have great ownership, and they've been really supportive of Dan and me in terms of what we wanted to do, and they've been able to do a ton of things in terms of not only on the field players, but off the field with what we've done with our facility and everything like that. So, at the same time, you also want to be smart and not overspend. So, I think that all goes into it as well.
Just briefly to that point. Thank you. Like, how much difference is there in the way you and Sasna and like NFL people approach the cap and spending and contracts versus the way fans and media look at over the cap? Like how different are those?
They're pretty different. So, I mean, it is a little misleading at times when you're looking at that, but it does say that we do have flexibility. But in terms of if you look at what we've spent over the last few years, we've spent a lot, and so we've been really aggressive in terms of acquiring players and doing the things we need to do to be competitive. And Josh has given us that opportunity and flexibility. So I think there's a lot that's not in that website, that goes into what we've been doing.
Sorry. Go ahead. It's so interesting.
I know. Is cash the biggest thing, or is it structure, or like kind of what do you?
Yeah, I think it's what you're spending like cash, year over year, and I mean, I don't want to get into another philosophical debate here, but I mean, most teams spend over the like cash over cap. They spend over whatever the cap is for that year, and we do too. And so, but at the same time, like you do have to have some constraints, otherwise you're going to go crazy. And then what happens is you put yourself in a bad position down the road. Yeah. It does catch up to you. It's like a credit card. It catches up to you at some point. So.
Okay, I found all of that to be really interesting and even educational. In case you're curious, Washington, per overthecap.com, is number 2 in the NFL in first-year cash spending this offseason. We welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. You can read his work at lastmanstandig.substack.com. He also is the host of the Last Man Standing podcast. You can follow Ben on X at Ben Standig. So, Ben, you, in a Substack piece that came out on March 25th, wrote about what I was just discussing. A headline, quote, Commanders cap space keeps door open for more moves now or after the draft, end quote. And as we just heard, you on March 30th asked Adam Peters about this topic. What do you think that Peters is thinking right now with how he's managing the salary cap?
Yeah. So, and his basic argument back to like how it wasn't like saying, hey, why aren't you spending? Because obviously they did, but you have this cap space. Not look, I'd be the first one to admit. I think I even said it like, dude, I can't even balance my own bank account. So I'm the wrong person to discuss these things with. But as a public topic, it is. Wait, why do you have all this cap space? And somebody suggested to me this topic to ask him. So I wish I could credit, but I don't know where I saw it. Anyway, so he was like, look, we spent a ton of money. And if you look it up on Over the Cap, like they spent like the second most money for 2026 of anybody so far. And they were like top 4 in like total guaranteed money and all these things. So they definitely spent it. But the one thing I was asking was like, well, if you have the cap space, why not front load some of the deals? Thus, you're not having to, in year 2 or 3 of a deal, have to do, what we see all the time. Make a decision. We're going to cut this player. We'll have this dead money. Why not just move it up front? He didn't. Maybe he gave a better answer than I think. But he was just kind of like, yeah, I can see that, but that's just not how we choose to do it. That they just want to, everything is the standard progression. Smaller number the first year, go back. So you would think that means, okay, you're keeping yourself open to possibly making a deal. Now he, of course, is not going to say, hey, we think. I don't know. Like they're not going to get AJ Brown, but hypothetically, if they were like, "Oh, AJ Brown," well, wouldn't that be ideal for Washington? It kind of would be, but Philly's not trading him. But I'm just saying, like that. Maybe they're like, "Hey, we think there's some possibilities, so let's just wait and see." And if not, look, the money doesn't disappear. They get to roll it over to next year. So all this continues to grow. But yeah, it's an interesting accounting salary cap trick. I'm sure there are people out here who are listening who are going, Ben, you're such an idiot. This is not how this works. Cool. But like, I'm all ears to hear what some of the justifications would be. But again, on the surface, you have $40 million in cap space that we all hear is this is a big deal. So what is the point of that if not to either make a big deal or what?
I also look at this as the salary cap now is soaring to where it's mattering less and less. The cap for this 2026-2027 NFL league year is $301.2 million per club, an increase of $22 million from the previous league year, an increase of $45.8 million from 2 league years ago. And so with the cap skyrocketing, if an NFL team really likes a guy, just pay what it takes to get him. Because if he is who you think he is, the contract won't look so bad in a year or two with the cap having increased by tens of millions of dollars. Like the situation with Tyler Linderbaum. I would have had no problem with Washington paying what it took to get Baltimore Ravens unrestricted free agent center Tyler Linderbaum. Washington on March 9th, what was day 1 of the legal tampering period this offseason, reportedly pursued Linderbaum, but he agreed on a mega money contract with the Las Vegas Raiders. If you believe that Linderbaum is an elite center, then pay what it takes to get him. Yes, he got monster money for a center. He got market resetting money for a center. But if he's elite, so what? The salary cap is shooting up. Today's overpay is tomorrow's bargain. If Linderbaum continues to play at a high level, that contract will only look better and better as the cap goes higher and higher.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I also wonder, like, because one of the other questions I asked Peters was, I know you guys have contingency plans. How many did you have to go through when you make big swings for Alec Pierce or Linderbaum? He's not saying they did, but that's been, all the reporting and things I've heard. Romeo Dobbs too. Like, and that's just what we know. Who knows what else they're doing? So, like, was their plan like, okay, we're going to give Oweh a big bag, but then we also want to get some of these guys, and thus they had this cap space. Then when they didn't, they clearly, which I applaud them for, they clearly didn't just say, I always like to bring up the Wizards. Everybody remembers. In 2016, the Wizards made a big play for Al Horford. Oh, Woj tweets out they were so close, and then they go, we have to spend the money. So here, Mahimi and Nicholson, here, take all. You're like, no, what? So they didn't do that, but because they left this money there to potentially get these guys, that now they have the money there, and now he goes back to the regular scheduling programming of we have a budget, we have a thought, we're not going to budge for some of these other players, so they didn't.
Our Washington Wizards, if memory serves, gave Ian Mahinmi a 4-year, $64 million contract per reports. That was in July 2016. That contract now seems bad. That contract in July 2016 was absurd. Much more with Ben Standig in moments. But if you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for Commanders discussion. The Sons of Washington forum on bgobsession.com is really good. A very good ongoing thread on the 2026 NFL Draft. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009, which was Jim Zorn's second season as Redskins head coach. A most special season, but BG Obsession offers great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. We're talking with Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. What about the team-friendly nature of the overwhelming majority of the contracts to which Washington has signed players this offseason? The only two big-money contracts given up by Washington this offseason are the contract extension for left tackle Laramie Tunsil and the unrestricted free agent contract for edge defender Adafe Owe. Are you surprised by the extent to which the team has signed players to team-friendly contracts this offseason?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm not stunned that is what their perception was. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I actually wrote these words in the story, in one of my stories or not, but or maybe I said it on the podcast, but basically this was verifying that Adam Peters is a gangster when it comes to this stuff. They have a thought, and they are not budging. We saw this play out last year with Terry McLaurin. I mean, at the end of the day, we can sit here and blame Buddy Baker all we want, but when you looked at the final deal, to me, the money read like it was ultimately on the Commander's side of the 50, that it wasn't necessarily something in the middle, because it was kind of where it felt like things might have been from the start from their perspective, or close to, or they were really lower. Maybe they compromised a little, but it's only because they were then super low. And look, did they need to go out and get Chris Paul? No, because you had Coleman, you kept Wiley, you kept Allegretti, so you have some options, even if you don't add anybody else. But at a point where they must have had a sense, hey, the market is not there for him, they didn't apparently go and say, hey, Chris, let's end this for you right now. 1 year, $6 million, come back. No, they clearly were like, hey man, we have this money. You want $3 million? We're cool with that, but we're not going to do more. And ultimately, Chris Paul was like, okay. So that to me is pretty baller. I think most of us in any negotiating circumstances at some point, I gotta go move, and they're like, nah. Rashad White too. He was like the last running back that it felt like of a certain tier. Not that he was equal to some of the other names that were out there, but it was the last guy. Okay, we've seen this guy do it. We know he can play, gets 50 catches a year, and they still were like, nah, we're not budging, bro. Chris Rodriguez got 2 for 10. We'll give you 1 for 2. That is that's a baller move, but it's very disciplined. It didn't seem to bite them this year the way it probably did last year with McLaurin, though. So that's positive, I guess.
Yeah, Washington on March 19th announced having re-signed left guard Chris Paul. The contract per overthecap.com and spottrack.com, a 1-year, $3 million deal with $2.475 million fully guaranteed at signing. So much for all of the talk about Paul likely being priced out of Washington re-signing him. What stands out to me, too, is that Washington being in good salary cap shape now is the new normal. We all know about the reckless spending by the Redskins during Dan Snyder's first decade of ownership, 1999 to 2009, but the team got a lot more fiscally responsible upon hiring, wait for it, Bruce Allen as executive vice president / general manager in December 2009. We did have the salary cap penalty that was levied in March 2012, but Washington for years now, for the most part, has been in good cap shape. And every offseason now, we talk about the team coming into the offseason with a lot of cap space.
Yeah, it's certainly a reasonable way to go. It avoids having to have these major problems year over year about, oh no, they got to cut all these players. And, obviously, I don't think any of their free agents were must keeps, right, for the most part. But you see these other teams that are having to move on, move on from guys. I mean, I'm sure the Colts wanted to keep Nick Cross. He didn't even cost that much, relatively speaking, but they they were in a salary cap situation. Obviously, they go out and get Alec Pierce, but they made other moves. So they can't just go out and do whatever they want. And, other teams are in the same boat. So they do give them that space. And clearly they think this is good. Now, I think the one thing is interesting is like at some point, so a couple more years, putting aside the Jaden extension, soon their own draft picks will start becoming guys to extend. Now, it's still a couple, they're only going into the third year now, the first class. So going to next year will be the last year of those rookie deals. Is it possible they're like, hey, we want to make sure that we have the money, since it can roll over, to pay the guys that we want to keep, not necessarily just pay somebody, independent of the fact that the 2024 class is a little uncertain right now. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But again, they spent a ton. It's just that they still have this cap space that we're always told is, so valuable.
Members of Washington's front office who play major roles in player contracts and salary cap management include General Manager Adam Peters, Assistant General Manager Lance Newmark, Senior Vice President of Football Operations Brandon Sosna, and Vice President of Football Administration Rob Rogers. You talk to a lot of agents for NFL players. Do you know who specifically negotiates player contracts for Washington? Who is the true architect of all of these team-friendly contracts?
I mean, my understanding is that it's Sosna who, when he was hired, all I heard was this guy is like a wonderkin type guy. Like when I've done my agent survey and asked the question, like, who's a future GM to watch? His name comes up, which is he's super young and he's a cap guy. It's not like he's, out there scouting the players. So clearly there's a lot to people like about him, is his demeanor, his personality, his professionalism, what have you. So I think the answer is yes. Now, again, when it gets to a Terry McLaurin situation, it's kind of like, this may be a bad example, but like, Josh Harris is not involved in, hey, Josh, we're going to go sign Nick Cross. But if it's, hey, Josh, we want to give a guy 4 years, $100 million, or hey, Josh, we want to talk to Alec Pierce about this. Okay, at some point, the owner is going to have to get involved to a degree. Now, I'm not saying that Josh Harris is negotiating. I'm just saying maybe it's a point where at a certain point, Peters has to get in because it's too big to just have the cap guy do it, right? So I think the answer is Sosna, but certainly Peters, I'm sure when push comes to shove, gets involved.
Well, it was you who on March 4th on your Substack pointed out that Washington quarterback Jayden Daniels now has his mom, Regina Jackson, as his agent. That's according to the NFL Players Association website. Regina Jackson became a certified NFLPA agent in 2024. Whether she is her son's agent just for now or for the long term, we don't know, but Daniels is contract extension eligible starting with the 2027 offseason. So a year from now, Daniels could have his mom negotiating a mega money contract extension with Washington.
Yeah, I mean, when you asked earlier, is there something we didn't ask? Like, I would not have asked that on the record in front of the cameras and all that. But yeah, I would love to know what do they think about this situation, because look, we remember Lamar Jackson a few years ago with the Ravens and this whole what's going to happen. He doesn't have an agent. His mom is involved, whatever. But they keep it all very, hush hush. I'm not saying the Daniels are not keeping their contract stuff, but like the mom is clearly very public, very visible. But then Jalen Hurts signed the deal, and then the Ravens and Lamar was like, "Cool, just give us 10 more bucks than that, and we're good." So maybe it just becomes as simple as that, but. I don't know. I mean, if somebody says, hey, look what Scott Boras does, that seems to work. Why don't we just say we're holding out for the whole bag and you don't want to do it? That's cool with us. We'll hit free agency and then we'll see what happens. But so again, I have no idea. It is very odd. And then maybe they'll have an agent. Maybe there will be a more formal agent by that time. But yes, at the moment, it has got to be like, oh boy, what's going on here?
You mentioned Adam Peters in contract negotiations being a gangsta. Would he go gangsta in negotiating with Regina Jackson, in negotiating with Mama Daniels?
I mean, like even like this, right? I mean, the fact that they were in the Linderbaum situation at all, and the Pierce, my understanding is they were right there with the money, and it's just the circumstances were just tilted heavily in favor of him staying with the Colts. So he's willing to spend, and I think it makes sense you'll go overboard perhaps on the bigger ticket items as opposed to the Mahimi type situations. So maybe it is different just because it is a quarterback and you're like, everybody understands the deal. But that doesn't mean it's still within reason, right? I mean, if everything is accurate that Terry was asking to essentially be one of the top 2 or 3 highest paid receivers in the league, okay, that didn't happen, but that was if that's an accurate depiction of what they were looking to do, who knows what Jaden Daniels could want, or any, not just him. I mean, Caleb Williams and Drake May will also be, who knows what any of these guys. They could just say, no, we don't want just more than the guys at the top. We want to be the Tyler Linderbaum of the quarterback position. We want to completely change things. Who knows?
Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. Ben, thanks. All the best.
Al, always a pleasure to be here. Thanks, man.
All right, the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in: you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. The Washington Capitals have just 4 games left in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season. The Caps are fighting to make the Stanley Cup Playoffs, and the Caps, over their 2 games over the weekend, got 2 very different results. Saturday night, a 6-2 win over the Buffalo Sabres at Capital One Arena, but Sunday night, an 8-1 loss at the New York Rangers. The vibes with these games could not have been more different. The Caps in the win over the Sabres on Saturday night were terrific. They improved to 10-1-2 over their last 13 games at Capital One Arena. The Caps extended their home point streak to 7 games, but then came this dud of a loss at the Rangers on Sunday night, and so the Caps now are 39-30-9. Good for 87 points, 3 points behind the Ottawa Senators for the Eastern Conference's second of 2 wildcard spots, 3 points behind the Philadelphia Flyers for third place in the Metropolitan Division as the top 3 teams in each division make the Stanley Cup playoffs. Did Caps head coach Spencer Carberry make a big-time mistake in having Charlie Lindgren as the Caps starting goaltender on Sunday night? As we have discussed on the podcast, the Caps' number 1 goaltender, Logan Thompson, is having a very good season. The Caps' number 2 goaltender, Charlie Lindgren, is having a very bad season. The 6-2 win over the Sabres at Capital One Arena on Saturday night. The Caps' starting goaltender was Logan Thompson. He started for a 10th consecutive game, and he was good, off having allowed at least 4 goals in each of the previous 4 games. But he, in this win over the Sabres, stopped 37 of the 39 shots on goal that he faced, including all 26 of the shots on goal that he faced over the second and third periods. So the Caps went 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. Logan Thompson, of course, a big part of that. Heck, the Caps scored a shorthanded goal. Caps second line right wing Tom Wilson, he scored a shorthanded goal 8:55 into the third period, giving him 29 goals in this regular season. And Thompson on Saturday night was good as the Caps needed him to be good. The Caps won 6-2 despite having just 28 shots on goal to the Sabres 39. 5-on-5 play was even as the Caps per natural stat trick had 45 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Sabres 44, including 11 5-on-5 high danger shot attempts to the Sabres 10. So Logan Thompson on Saturday night again was great, but he started for a 10th consecutive game, had been struggling prior to Saturday night, and Sunday night was the second game of a back-to-back. Spencer Carberry starting Charlie Lindgren on Sunday night wasn't crazy, but man, did that decision not work out. An 8-1 loss at the Rangers. Charlie Lindgren started and played in a game for the first time since March 12th, for just the second time since February 28th, and for just the third time since January 29th. And he was really bad. He stopped just 24 of the 32 shots on goal that he faced. Now, the Caps did not help Lindgren out a ton. They lost the puck possession battle by a good margin, had just 21 shots on goal to the Rangers 32, and per natural stat trick had 36 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Rangers 52, including 3 5-on-5 high danger shot attempts to the Rangers 9. The Caps went just 2 for 4 on the penalty kill. But how about the stats now? Charlie Lindgren now for this regular season, 21 games, including 20 starts, goals against average of 3.52, save percentage of just .879. Logan Thompson for this regular season, 55 games, all starts, goals against average of 2.52, save percentage of .910. The Caps' power play over the weekend, not good. The 6-2 win over the Sabres at Capital One Arena on Saturday night. The Caps went 0 for 2 on the power play. The 8-1 loss at the Rangers on Sunday night. The Caps went 0 for 3 on the power play. Connor McMichael did score a goal in each game over the weekend. He in each game served as the Caps' second-line left wing. The 6-2 win over the Sabres at Capital One Arena on Saturday night. McMichael scored an even-strength goal, .552 into the first period. Also, he had a primary assist for his 30th assist in this regular season, did commit a second-period tripping minor. The 8-1 loss at the Rangers on Sunday night, McMichael scored an even-strength goal, .1345 into the first period for his 12th goal in this regular season. He did commit a third-period tripping minor, and he was last on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 20. Alexi Protas is back. He in the 6-2 win over the Sabres at Capital One Arena on Saturday night returned from a 2-game absence caused by an upper body injury that he suffered in the Caps' 5-4 shootout win at the Vegas Golden Knights late night the previous Saturday night, March 28th. Protas in this win over the Sabres served as the Caps' top-line left wing, had a goal and an assist. He scored an unassisted even-strength goal, .606 into the second period for his 24th goal in this regular season, and he had a primary assist for his 25th assist in this regular season. Also, he was tied for number 2 on the Caps with 4 shots on goal. He was last on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 34.48. But Protas for the 8-1 loss at the Rangers on Sunday night and serving as the Caps' top-line right wing was number 1 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 61.54. As for the Great 8, Alex Ovechkin, the 6-2 win over the Sabres at Capital One Arena on Saturday night. Ovi served as the Caps' top-line right wing. He had 2 assists in a span of just 20 seconds in the first period, giving him 30 assists in this regular season. He had a game-high 9 total shot attempts, including being tied for number 2 on the Caps with 4 shots on goal. The 8-1 loss at the Rangers on Sunday night. Ovi served as the Caps' top-line left wing, had no points, but did have a team-high tying 5 total shot attempts, including a team-high 3 shots on goal. The Caps for each game over the weekend had the same healthy scratches. Forward David Kampf, winger Ivan Miroshnichenko, and defenseman Timothy Liljegren, Declan Chisholm, and Dylan McElrath. Kampf for the loss at the Rangers on Sunday night was a healthy scratch for a second consecutive game, meaning that he did not play for the 13th time in 15 games since the Caps acquired him via trade on March 6th, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day. The Caps traded a 6th-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft to the Vancouver Canucks for Kampf. Liljegren for the loss at the Rangers on Sunday night was a healthy scratch for a 10th consecutive game of the Caps having acquired him via trade on on 2026 NHL trade deadline day. The Caps traded a fourth-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft to the San Jose Sharks for Liljegren. Two really bad trades by our Caps. Next up for the Caps at the Toronto Maple Leafs, Wednesday night at 7:30.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The Washington Wizards entered this past weekend needing to go no better than 3-3 over their final 6 games in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season in order to guarantee finishing with a bottom 4 record and thus keeping their reported top 8 protected first-round pick in the 2026 NBA draft, which is viewed as a great draft. Well, our rebuilding and tanking Wizards, they over the weekend had 2 games. The Wizards over those 2 games went 0-2. Saturday, a 152-136 loss at the Miami Heat. This off the Wizards' 153-131 loss to the Philadelphia 76ers at Capital One Arena this past Wednesday night. So the Wizards over 2 consecutive games allowed 153 points and then 152 points. Sunday, a 121-115 loss at the Brooklyn Nets in a battle of 2 of the 3 worst teams in the NBA. The Wizards now are 17-61, worst record in the NBA, and yes, they are on the doorstep of clinching, keeping that reported top 8 protected first-round pick in the perceived to be loaded 2026 NBA draft. The nature of each Wizards game over the weekend stood out. The loss at the Heat on Saturday, the Wizards trailed for all of the second, third, and fourth quarters, but the loss at the Nets on Sunday, the Wizards overcame a 17-point first-quarter deficit to take a 4-point lead in the fourth quarter at 105-101, but our Wizards then lost the rest of the game 20-10. Thank goodness for that collapse by our team in that fourth quarter. So many guys for the Wizards did not play on Sunday. The team so clearly went into this game with the idea trying to lose the game. Not the players, but the front office. So the Wizards for this game had just 8 available players. Bilal Coulibaly did not play due to a right heel ailment. Trey Johnson did not play due to a right foot sprain. Justin Champagnie did not play due to a right knee contusion. Tristan Vukcevic did not play due to a right knee contusion. Also, Alex Sarr has not played in each of the last 5 games due to a left big toe injury. Keyshawn George has not played in each of the last 18 games. This due to a grade 2 UCL tear in his left elbow. The Wizards this past Thursday afternoon, April 2nd, announced that George was done for the season. Trae Young has not played in each of the last 11 games. This due to a re-injured right quadriceps and lower back irritation. Anthony Davis has not played in all 29 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on February 5th, what was 2026 NBA trade deadline day. He's not playing due to a finger sprain on his left hand. D'Angelo Russell has not played in all 29 games since being acquired by the Wizards via the Anthony Davis trade. Russell has been being listed as not being with the Wizards, is not expected to ever play for the Wizards, and Cam Whitmore is done for the season due to right shoulder deep vein thrombosis. A tremendous weekend for Will Riley, who easily has been the Wizards' biggest bright spot for weeks now. The loss at the Heat on Saturday, the Wizards' leading scorer was Will Riley. He in 36 minutes, 54 seconds as a starter had 31 points, 5 steals, and 5 rebounds. He went 2 for 4 on threes, 10 for 13 on twos, and 5 for 6 on free throws. The loss at the Nets on Sunday, the Wizards' leading scorer was Will Riley. He in 35.06 as a reserve had 30 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. Did commit 4 turnovers, but he went 3 for 7 on threes, 6 for 9 on twos, and 9 for 12 on free throws. Also in the loss at the Nets on Sunday, Sunday was Julian Reese in 43-49 as a starter, having 17 points, 16 rebounds, including 7 offensive boards and 3 steals. He did go just 8 for 16 from the field, all twos, and just 1 for 5 on free throws. Did commit 4 turnovers and did have a team worst plus-minus rating of -12. The Wizards in this regular season have just 4 games left. Next up for the Wizards, home to the Chicago Bulls, Tuesday night at 7. Well, the Los Angeles Dodgers are what the rebuilding Washington Nationals strive to be, a smart, forward-thinking team that is big on analytics and sports science, and that wins. Now, also part of the Dodgers formula is spending a lot of money on players, and now it's been a long time since Nats ownership, the Lerner family, spent a lot of money on players, but the Dodgers, beyond the spending, offer a lot to admire. The Dodgers have made the MLB playoffs in each of the last 13 seasons. The Dodgers have won 2 consecutive World Series and have won 3 World Series over the last 6 seasons. The Dodgers have won 5 National League pennants over the last 9 seasons. The Dodgers have won the National League West in 12 of the last 13 seasons. The Dodgers are the number 1 team in MLB right now, and the Nats, over the weekend, in their first home series in MLB's 2026 regular season, got swept by the Dodgers. Friday afternoon, a 13-6 loss to the Dodgers at Nationals Park. Saturday, a 10-5 loss to the Dodgers at Nationals Park. Sunday, an 8-6 loss to the Dodgers at Nationals Park, in a game for which the start was delayed for 2 hours and 9 minutes due to rain, and in a game in which the Nats blew a 6-1 6th-inning lead. The Nats now have lost 5 consecutive games and are 3-6, 0-5 since the 3-1 start. The Nats pitching in this series, not good. The starting pitching really bad in each of the first 2 games, then was good in game 3. But the 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday, Miles Mikolas officially allowed 11 runs in 4 and a third innings. The 11 earned runs set a new record for most earned runs allowed by a Nats pitcher in a regular season game since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. He gave up 11 hits, which were 4 home runs, a double, and 6 singles. He did have 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk, so hey, there was that. He threw 87 pitches, 56 strikes versus 31 balls. What's so funny is that Mikolas began the outing with 2 perfect innings, but he then got obliterated. He, in the top of the third, allowed 5 runs as he gave up a one-out 3-run homer by Shohei Ohtani to right field to tie the game at 3, and gave up a one-out 2-run homer by Mookie Betts to left center field for a 5-3 Dodgers lead. Mikolas, in the top of the 4th, allowed 2 runs as he gave up a one-out 2-run homer by Andy Pajes to left field for a 7-4 Dodgers lead. And Mikolas, in the top of the 5th, was charged with allowing 4 runs, including giving up a first-pitch 2-run homer by Freddie Freeman to right field for a 9-4 Dodgers lead. The 10-5 loss to the Dodgers on Saturday, Jake Irvin allowed 6 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were 2 first-pitch 2-run doubles by Freddie Freeman and 6 singles. Irvin issued 2 walks. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He threw a lot of pitches, did throw a lot of strikes, as he over his 4 innings threw 85 pitches, 58 strikes versus just 27 balls. Irvin, in a 2-run first for the Dodgers, gave up a one-out first pitch 2-run double by Freddie Freeman to the right center field gap for a 2-0 Dodgers lead. Irvin, in a 3-run second for the Dodgers, gave up a 2-out first pitch 2-run double by Freddie Freeman to the right center field gap for a 5-0 Dodgers lead. Irvin, in a 1-run third for the Dodgers, botched the fielding of a one-out comeback chopper by Andy Pajes on an 0-2 pitch for what was officially scored as a single, and Irvin then gave up a 2-out full count RBI single by ex-Nat Alex Cole to left field for a 6-0 Dodgers lead. But the 8-6 loss to the Dodgers on Sunday, a good outing from a Nats starting pitcher. Foster Griffin allowed 1 run in 5 innings with 6 strikeouts. He gave up 5 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 3 singles, and the homer and the double were by Shohei Ohtani. Griffin issued 3 walks. He did throw a lot of pitches and a lot of balls. 95 pitches, just 52 strikes versus 43 balls. Griffin, in the top of the 3rd, allowed a run as he gave up a one-out solo homer by Shohei Ohtani on a moonshot to center field for a 1-0 Dodgers lead. The homer went a projected 438 feet per Statcast. StatCast. The Nats relief pitching in the team getting swept in 3 games against the Dodgers at Nationals Park over the weekend. Quite bad. Nats relievers over the 3 games officially combined to allow 13 runs in 13 2/3 innings. The 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday. 3 Nats relievers officially combined to allow 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings. The 10-5 loss to the Dodgers on Saturday. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 4 runs in 5 innings. The 8-6 loss to the Dodgers on Sunday. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 7 runs in 4 innings. Way too many home runs allowed by Nats relievers in this series. The 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday. Ken Waldichuk allowed 1 run in 2 innings with 3 strikeouts. He in the top of the 7th allowed a run on a 2-out first pitch solo homer by Kyle Tucker to right center field for a 12-4 Dodgers lead. The 10-5 loss to the Dodgers on Saturday. Brad Lord allowed 3 runs in 2 innings. Lord hit a 3-run fifth for the Dodgers, gave up a 3-run homer by Andy Pages to left field for a 9-2 Dodgers lead. Lord in that inning gave up the homer, 3 singles and a walk. The 8-6 loss to the Dodgers on Sunday. P.J. Poulin allowed 2 runs in 2 innings. He in the top of the 6th allowed 2 runs as he gave up a 2-out 2-run homer by Dalton Rushing to right field to cut the Nats lead to 6-3. And Nats manager Blake Butera, interestingly, then had Poulin pitch the top of the 7th, despite it featuring the Dodgers' numbers 1 through 3 batters, but Poulin tossed a perfect top of the 7th. Go figure. Clayton Beeter officially allowed 1 run in 1 2/3 innings. He in the top of the 9th allowed a run as he gave up a leadoff homer by Teoscar Hernandez to left center field for an 8-6 Dodgers lead. The homer went a projected 414 feet per StatCast. Also on Sunday with the Nats bullpen, Cionel Perez officially allowed 4 runs without recording an out. He in what ended up being a 4-run 8th for the Dodgers, faced 5 batters and got no outs as he gave up a double, 2 singles, and 2 walks. The big blow was a 2-run single by Santiago Espinal to left center field on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats lead to 6-5. And Blake Butera, during his postgame press conference on Sunday evening, said that the Dodgers may have been reading Perez's pitches from second base. The Nats offense and the team getting swept in 3 games against the Dodgers at Nationals Park over the weekend was pretty good, but not as good as the ultra-potent Dodgers offense. The 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday. The Nats weren't bad offensively, but they over the 3rd through 7th innings got outscored 12-1. The Nats for the game scored 6 runs, totaled 11 hits, which were a home run, 3 doubles, and 7 singles, and worked 5 walks. The Nats did go just 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position. The 10-5 loss to the Dodgers on Saturday. The Nats scored 5 runs, but 3 of the runs came over the final 2 innings. The Nats over the first 7 innings were outscored 10-2. The Nats totaled just 8 hits, but 4 of them were extra base hits as the Nats had a home run, a triple, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. The Nats worked just 2 walks. The Nats went 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And the 8-6 loss to the Dodgers on Sunday. The Nats did enough offensively to win 6 runs, 7 hits, which were 2 home runs and 5 singles, 5 walks, 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. James Wood, the most important player on the Nats, he on Sunday homered and hopefully now gets going. He for each of the 3 games in this series was the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter. The 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday, Wood went 1 for 4 with a double and a walk. The 10-5 loss to the Dodgers on Saturday, Wood went 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. He, per StatCast, though, did have the Nats' 2 highest exit velocities of the game, 106 miles per hour and 104.7 miles per hour. The 8-6 loss to the Dodgers on Sunday, Wood went 1 for 4 with a 3-run homer and a walk. Wood in the Nats' 4-run 4th had a 2-out opposite field 3-run homer to left center field on an 0-2 pitch for a 6-1 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 416 feet per StatCast. Great to see him homer, and again, hopefully he now gets going. James Wood for this regular season has an OPS of just 572. CJ Abrams, on the other hand, is doing well. Now, you wonder if him doing well makes it more likely that he gets traded, but we'll see. But he, for each of the 3 games in this series, was the Nats starting shortstop. The 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday, Abrams, as the Nats' number 5 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 3-run homer and an RBI single. The 10-5 loss to the Dodgers on Saturday, Abrams, as the Nats' number 5 batter, went 1 for 2 with a 2-run homer and 2 walks. The 8-6 loss to the Dodgers on Sunday, Abrams, as the Nats' number 6 batter, went 1 for 3 with a single, a walk, and a stolen base. C.J. Abrams for this regular season has an OPS of 970, and also doing well is Luis Garcia Jr. The 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday, Garcia, as the Nats' starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 2 for 5 with 2 singles. The 10-5 loss to the Dodgers on Saturday. Garcia as the Nats starting DH and number 2 batter went 3 for 4 with an RBI triple, a double, and a single. The 8-6 loss to the Dodgers on Sunday. Garcia as the Nats starting first baseman and number 3 batter went 1 for 5 with a 2-run homer. Luis Garcia for this regular season has an OPS of .883. We, during Blake Butera's postgame press conference on Sunday evening, had this exchange between Nats insider Jessica Camerado of Nationals.com and Butera.
What's your message to the team after this game?
It's a tough one. It's a really tough one. Thought we had it all the way through up until there at the very end. Just want them to keep going. It's a long season. Keep going. Stay positive. Just keep controlling what we can control. I thought our hitters did a really good job against some more tough arms again to get us 6 runs. Thought we felt good about it. It's just those last couple innings.
Yeah, those last couple innings were tough. Next up for the Nats is a 3-game series against the St. Louis Cardinals at Nationals Park. Game 1, Monday evening at 6:45. Zach Littell will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday evening at 6:45. Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3, Wednesday afternoon at 4:05. Miles Michaelis will be the Nats starting pitcher.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
The Baltimore Orioles have played just 9 of their 162 games in MLB's 2026 regular season, but the O's off a very disappointing 2025 regular season in which they went in American League East worst 75-87, end off spending a lot of money on players since the end of that very disappointing 2025 regular season, are off to a very disappointing start in this 2026 regular season, just 3-6 off getting swept in a 3-game series at the Pittsburgh Pirates over the weekend. Friday, a 5-4 loss at the Pirates. Saturday, a 3-2 walk-off loss at the Pirates in a game in which the O's blew a 2-1 8th-inning lead. And Sunday afternoon, an 8-2 loss at the Pirates in a game in which O's manager Craig Albernaz got ejected in the top of the third for his first regular season ejection as an MLB manager. This also was a game in which former Orioles outfielder / first baseman Ryan O'Hearn, as the Pirates starting right fielder and number 4 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and a 2-run double. O'Hearn signed with the Pirates as a free agent this past January off having been traded by the O's to the San Diego Padres last July 31st, what was 2025 MLB trade deadline day. And speaking of 2025, what is especially concerning right now is that the 2026 Orioles look a lot like the 2025 Orioles, including with the team being hit hard by injury. More bad injury news from the O's on Sunday morning. They on Sunday morning announced having placed reliever Yarmiel Geraldo on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to April 2nd due to right shoulder inflammation, and announced having recalled pitcher Cade Povich from AAA Norfolk. Each of the following Orioles players is on an injured list now. Third baseman / second baseman Jordan Westberg, second baseman Jackson Holliday, outfielder Heston Kjerstad, starting pitcher Zach Eflin, and relievers Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Aiken, Yarmiel Geraldo, Felix Bautista, and Colin Selby. A lot of key guys on injured lists. Nothing for the O's so far has been more disappointing than their starting pitching. 2 more bad outings in this 3-game sweep at the Pirates. The 5-4 loss at the Pirates on Friday. Kyle Bradish allowed 4 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 3 doubles and 3 singles. He issued 3 walks. He did record 6 strikeouts, but he over his 4 innings threw 81 pitches, 51 strikes versus 30 balls. The 3-2 walk-off loss at the Pirates on Saturday. Shane Baz allowed 1 run, unearned in 5 2/3 2/3 innings with 5 strikeouts, so he was good. The run was unearned due to a fielding error by Boz. He gave up 3 hits, which were a double and 2 singles. He issued 3 walks and a hit by pitch. He threw 98 pitches, 63 strikes versus 35 balls, and he was throwing heat. His average four-seam fastball velocity for the game was 97.4 miles per hour per Statcast. But the 8-2 loss at the Pirates on Sunday afternoon, Chris Bassett allowed 6 runs in 2 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks and 2 hit by pitches. He recorded no strikeouts. He threw 62 pitches, just 32 strikes versus 30 balls. Your Orioles starting pitching ERA so far this regular season, 4.85. Your Orioles starting pitching whip so far this regular season, 1.52. Also disappointing has been the Orioles offense. The 5-4 loss at the Pirates on Friday. The O's totaled 9 hits, which were a home run, 3 doubles, and 5 singles, and worked 5 walks, but the O's scored just 4 runs. Why? The O's went just 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The 3-2 walk-off loss at the Pirates on Saturday. The O's scored just 2 runs and totaled just 6 hits, all of which were singles, so the O's did draw 7 walks and did go 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position, but the 8-2 loss at the Pirates on Sunday afternoon, the O's were not good offensively. Just 2 runs, just 8 hits, which were 2 doubles and 6 singles, no walks, 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, 14 strikeouts. Think about the walks to strikeouts ratio. No walks, 14 strikeouts. The O's over the 3 games totaled a mere 10 runs. Not good enough. 2 offensive bright spots for the O's in the series were Gunnar Henderson and Taylor Ward. Gunnar Henderson was good in games 1 and 2. He, for each of the 3 games in the series, was the Orioles starting shortstop and number 2 batter. The 5-4 loss at the Pirates on Friday, Henderson went 3 for 5 with a solo homer, an RBI double, and a single. The 3-2 walk-off loss at the Pirates on Saturday, Henderson went 1 for 3 with a single and 2 walks. But the 8-2 loss at the Pirates on Sunday afternoon, Henderson went 0 for 4. Some good things from Taylor Ward in this series. He, for each of the 3 games in the series, was the Orioles' number 1 batter. The 5-4 loss at the Pirates on Friday, Ward, as the Orioles starting left fielder, went 1 for 3 with an RBI double and 2 walks. The 3-2 walk-off loss at the Pirates on Saturday, Ward, as the Orioles starting DH, went 0 for 4 with a walk. The 8-2 loss at the Pirates on Sunday afternoon, Ward, as the Orioles starting left fielder, went 3 for 4 with a double and 2 singles. He did get thrown out in an attempted steal of second base. The Orioles relief pitching in the team getting swept in this 3-game series at the Pirates over the weekend was good in 2 of the 3 games. So the 5-4 loss at the Pirates on Friday, 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 4 innings. Dietrich Enns allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He, in the bottom of the 5th, allowed a run on back-to-back 1-out walks, a 1-out wild pitch, and a 1-out RBI sac fly. He then issued a 2-out walk, but Tyler Wells tossed 2 perfect innings with 2 swinging strikeouts, and Rico Garcia tossed a perfect bottom of the 8th. The bad game for the Orioles bullpen was Game 2, the 3-2 walk-off loss at the Pirates on Saturday. 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 2 2/3 innings. Anthony Nunez allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He, in the bottom of the 8th, allowed a run on 2 singles and a walk, and Ryan Helsley allowed 1 run in 1/3 of an inning. He, in the bottom of the 9th, allowed a run on 2 doubles and an intentional walk, including a 1-out walk-off full-count RBI double by Nick York to left field over the head of left fielder Dylan Beavers, who failed in an attempt at a leaping backhanded catch. Although, in fairness to Beavers, the walk-off RBI double had an exit velocity of 105.4 miles per hour per Statcast. But the 8-2 loss at the Pirates on Sunday afternoon, 2 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 6 innings. Cade Povich, 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings, and Yadier Cadeau faced 1 batter and got 1 out, which was a strikeout of former Oriole Ryan O'Hearn with a runner on first to end the bottom of the 8th. But the O's swept in this 3-game series at the Pirates over the weekend. Here was Craig Albernaz during his post-game session with reporters on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's a long season. It's a marathon season. But the biggest thing is, us this year is we still have a lot of work to do. We had a great camp. We're at spring training. I know spring training's over with, but we were trying to redefine ourselves as getting back to fundamental baseball, playing clean baseball, doing the little things right, and the work's still not done. We still have to get better, and that's on myself and the coaching staff to keep on pushing our guys to get better each day, especially in those areas like that inning where Magnum laid a bunt down, we messed up the bunt play. and which led to like JJ kind of missing second base, which because there was some confusion on the bunt play. So stuff like that we have to get better at to kind of shore up those little things so like the big innings don't happen.
Well, here's a positive if you're an Orioles fan. At least Easter 2026 was not as bad as Easter 2025. Do you remember Easter 2025? April 20th, 2025. The O's suffered a 24-2 loss to the Cincinnati Reds at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Yes, 24-2. Next up for the O's is a 3-game series at the Chicago White Sox. Game 1 Monday night at 7:40. The Orioles starting pitcher is to be announced. Game 2 Tuesday night at 7:40. Trevor Rogers will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 2:10. Kyle Bradish will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Tuesday's show, episode 1297. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, we'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are home to the St. Louis Cardinals Monday evening at 6:45 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. The O's are at the Chicago White Sox Monday night at 7:40 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
What's up, Commanders fans? Carson Wentz here, just landed in D.C. I'm excited to get to work, excited to come in and compete, and, as we all know, excited to really go ahead and start to take command.